Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live from Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of TNT with Rabbi Stuart, the man Federow from the Big H, Houston, Texas. Welcome back. Rabbi, how are you
I'm doing great, and it's good to be back.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it, no doubt. And there we go. All right, this is kind of a question that came in a while back, and I let it slip by. Just kind of fell through the cracks, if you will. So we'll kick this thing off with Exodus 23. Let's see if I did right there. And there it is. I got to get rid of my highlight on the screen. 1 second. Exodus 23, verse 20, 21, and 22. Let me see if I can put that over. I'll do that right now. Here we go. Okay, I guess I got to scroll some. There we go. Okay, so 20, 21, and 22 says, Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if you shall indeed obey his voice, and do all that I speak of, then I will be an enemy. And it goes on. So, word on the street is that this is specifically talking about Jesus. For me, the first thing that jumped off the screen, it says, for he will not forgive your transgressions. So, of course, I didn't read the whole chapter, but that was just the first thing that came up. So, the address is this Jesus or is it not? Or is it just an angel? And if so, who was the angel?
Can I just ask a simple question?
Certainly.
And if you answer this question, we'll be done with the whole issue.
Okay.
According to Christian theology, Jesus was a part of the Trinity, which includes, right, in their religion, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Not an angel, right?
So make up their minds.
Right, sure.
Is Jesus an angel, or is Jesus the Son? Mm-hmm. Or is Jesus co-equal with the Father and co-equal with the Holy Spirit? I mean, how many different ways are they going to try to have it their own way?
Sure.
You know, have their cake and eat it too.
Right.
Either Jesus was the Son, or he was the Father, as in what is it, Isaiah 9:6? I can't think of what it says. The something Father. Okay, now he's an angel. It's like they can't make up their mind.
Right. And let's see. I think, who was it that called that out? Oh, Christo Cheney said, verse 27, there shall be nothing cast their young nor be barren in the land, number of all.
Yeah, everlasting Father.
Right.
First he's the Son. Then they assume
right.
Isaiah 9:6 is about him, so he's an everlasting Father. Right. Now he's an angel. It's like, is he a chameleon or amoeba? Amoeba. Is he an amoeba that changes his shape according to what they need him to be?
Right.
Okay, we're done.
Okay, so verse 7, I thought he said 27. So verse 7 says, keep thee far from false matter and the innocent. And do I have that on screen? No, that's okay. I'll just read it. And the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. And the whole point of Jesus' coming forward was to justify the wicked. Yep, to justify.
Well, okay, which verse did you just read?
That was verse 7.
Oh, no, give me the whole reference.
I'm sorry, 23, chapter 23, verse 7, Exodus.
And now we're on 7. I will not justify the wicked. You know, I don't know what should be the most amazing. The theology that Christianity has, or their ability to see that theology in verses that completely contradict that same theology. It's amazing to me.
Yep, right. Now, granted, for their defense, they would say, well, Jesus doesn't justify the ones who choose to remain wicked, but that's not what this says. This is saying it doesn't justify anybody who's done, well, now, could that be the case in this spot, even though we know it's not Jesus? It says he will not justify the wicked. Let's talk about people who would remain in their wickedness, not someone who would turn from their wickedness, to be fair, so.
Oh no, but see, when they choose to take something literally, they'll take it literally. When they choose to put a spin on it, they'll put a spin on it. I'm telling you, it's like an amoeba.
Sure.
Change the shape to fit the circumstance you're in.
Right. Very good. Let's see where we at here. I was going to see if you're up for it. Then we can put the call-in number on the screen if people would like to call in. Is that cool with you?
I'm sorry, say it again?
I was thinking about putting up the call-in number on the screen just in case people like to call in.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Awesome. Then we shall do that right there.
Good question. Constellation Pegasus. I still don't understand why God created people to die originally. That's a very, very good question, a very deep question. And I, for one, hate death. I hate dying. I hate death. I'm not fond of doing funerals. They rip me up inside. Okay. But how many billions of people would be on the earth if nobody died? Could our earth sustain that many people, manufacture that much food? If things, because, there's no room, people would be killing each other left and right to decrease the surplus population, as Scrooge said. Yep. So I don't like it. I hate it. But I can't see how God would make the world any other way. Look at all the things that would have to change.
Yeah.
If God created the world in a way where everybody lived forever, you have to have more food. Every single town would be a city built straight up. I don't know that the technology existed 200 years ago or more for buildings to be of that size. Let's say 500 years ago instead of 200. Let's say 500. All of that technology is recent. Look at all the things that would have to change. And let's take this on another level, which y'all may not like, but whatever. Okay. In order for God to make human beings develop by evolution and survival of the fittest, the entities that existed before Homo sapien, human beings, would not have evolved because there wouldn't have been anything to survive for the fittest to survive. If you're following what I'm saying. The Bible never tells us how God created. And if there's no death, then germs, disease, infection have no purpose. They have no effect on us. So if these things have no effect, how would the entities evolve into what we are now? That is another take you could take, another way to approach this. If there was no death. So I don't see how God could create the universe without death being part of the whole plan. Right or wrong, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I kind of see it. It seems the same too, I'm actually thinking on something in addition to what you're saying that's on a different spectrum. Is I can tell you over the years, the people that I've known in my life who I've encountered who've passed on because of old age, I could tell you how many of them said, "Man, no, I'm ready to go. I'm tired. I'm just done." So it's like, even from a psychological standpoint. I mean, granted, some would probably like to live a couple hundred years, but at some point in time, it's like you're going to get tired. I don't know how that works. I've never been there, so.
Christo, you said, if no one ever died, no one could ever be born again. Why? Oh, never be born again, like I am. Oh, I see. Because even if there was no death, people are people, and they're still going to procreate. So babies would still continue to be born and grow up and continue living forever.
I thought he was referring to the Christian's idea about being
at first I did.
Born again Christian.
Never knowing any new people. Why wouldn't they know new people? I'm not quite sure I understand why they wouldn't exist if no one ever died. People are still going to come into being. People are still going to engage in procreative activities. Okay? So, all right.
Yippers. Guys, the phone line's open if you're interested. 855-952-4253. Give us a call.
Separation from entropy is hope, and that is what man is offered. William, 7:16 p.m., Walter Folger.
Got it.
Because creation can only occur with entropy. Entropy is the true universal constant. Separation from entropy is hope, and that is what man is offered. Separation from entropy? Okay.
The false hope that Christianity provides is nothing unlike, and I mentioned this before on a show. I saw a YouTube video one time where some kids thought it'd be funny to play a prank on their parents. They were raised poor, and parents were always grumpy and everything. And they were young adults, so 25-ish, something like that. And they had a fake lottery ticket made. And they say the power of Jesus is what changes lives, right? Well, this fake lottery ticket, whenever they scratched it off, and it was like $10,000, which to them was like millions of dollars. That totally changed both of those parents instantaneously, and it kept them changed until the time came to which they found out that the ticket was fake. Then they were really, really upset. Point is, it doesn't have to be real to change somebody's life. You just have to believe in it, and that's what changes. It's the belief in something that changes, not the thing you believe in, but the act of you believing in it and its abilities. So,
that's a great story, by the way, William.
Thank you.
With the lottery ticket. All right, so there was a question somewhere, but I haven't found it, that had to do with Nazarene.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
But I can't find it anymore.
I'll find it for you. Just sit tight. It was Crystal Cheney, I believe it was.
I don't think, well, I might have been. Wait. No, it's not Christo Cheney. It's the other Christo. Christo 3167 -
Oh, I thought that was Crystal Cheney there for a minute. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
7:17 p.m.
Yep.
I had a Christian tell me the "he shall be called a Nazarene" prophecy was in Isaiah 11:1. The word branch in Hebrew is similar to Nazarene in Greek. Well, the problem is twofold. First of all, there is a difference between person from Nazareth, Nazarite vow, and the Hebrew word for branch, which is netzer. Not nezer, but netzer. Okay? 3 different words. Okay? Most importantly, the text from Matthew says that there is a prophet who said, quote, "He shall be called a Nazarene." Isaiah 11:1. Okay, let me pull it up.
Also, we have a caller, so caller, sit tight. We'll be right with you, okay? So you got
and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. How do you get a branch, netzer, whatever you want to, shall grow out of his roots, having anything to do with, and he shall be called a branch or whatever. The text is explicitly clear. He shall be called a Nazarene is what some prophet said somewhere. Isaiah 11:1 doesn't say anything about he shall be called a branch, Nazarene, Nazarite, Nazir.
Right.
So above and beyond the fact that they're totally different words with different roots, the Matthew passage is quoting a prophet, and that quote is nowhere to be found in any prophet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take this caller. Caller, you're live on the air. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Thanks. I'm Trey Bishop. I'm from Oklahoma.
Trey Bishop, welcome.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I have a question. Hopefully it has nothing to do with Christianity, so hopefully that's not off topic for the discussion.
Go ahead with your question. We'll see how it works out, okay?
Cain and Abel. I have a question about the story of Cain and Abel and the offering that Abel brought. I think a lot of people have it in their head that there was an animal sacrifice. And as I'm reading the story, I'm not seeing any indication of a fire or note of slaying. It just says that he brought the best of his herd. And the word that's used there in Hebrew, I'm seeing as the females of the herd. And the word that I'm seeing as fat could also be, I think, which is really my question, I think could be translated as dairy. So,
as what?
I was hoping I could get
dairy?
an opinion about that. Dairy like cheese or cream, what have you.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at it and see. Okay, if you want to go ahead and hang up now, we'll tune in for your answer, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. Bye. All right. Rabbi, you got this?
I'm trying to... Okay, wait a minute. In the Hebrew...
Give me the address, if you don't mind.
I think he said Genesis 4, verse 4. Abel, Gamhu.
What chapter you said? You told me the verse.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 3.
Chapter 4. Got it. Okay, right. Okay. There we go.
Maybe.
Let me put this on screen. That's the wrong one. This is the right one. Here.
Oh, that's what he's talking. I got it. Okay, I see what he's talking about. Which word? Okay, it is Genesis chapter 4, verse 4.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th word.
Okay.
Okay. Umechalve hen. Okay. Okay. Well, there are two ways to go about this, okay? And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and the fat thereof, and the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But to Cain and to his offering he did not have respect, and Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. So, first of all, yes, of course, they're going to want to see every time anybody brings an offering, it's got to be a blood sacrifice to reflect their view of Jesus's blood sacrifice for the forgiveness of sin. Okay. I'm not quite sure at this point what sin had occurred, what sin had happened. So I'm not quite sure the Christian view of why they decided to interpret this to be a blood sacrifice. Because the blood sacrifice doesn't become, in their Christian opinion, necessary until there's a sin. So that's one thing. Second of all, yeah, okay, fine. If you wanted to understand this as firstlings of his flock and of the dairy thereof, okay, that's equally fair if you wanted to. But either way, the point is that Abel brought the firstlings of this flock, which is understood in various texts of the Bible to be the best of the offerings he had. I'm sorry, the best of the animals he had. The firstlings were considered the best. The verse before it, in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering to God, but it doesn't say he brought the best of the fruit of the ground. It's Cain basically grabs what's handy, but Abel brings to God the best. So if you're standing in line in a buffet, at a smorgasbord, at a, what's it called? Where everybody brings their own stuff. What's it called? What's that? I can't.
Sorry, I was reading some comments. I didn't even hear your question. I
Oh,
apologize.
I'm sorry. So, what do they call where everybody in a congregation brings
Like a potluck.
potluck? Couldn't think of the word. Okay, so you're standing in line at a potluck dinner, and you see a really, really delicious-looking dessert, and you see some other things that look like they were old store-bought, and you decide you're going to take the really fancy, nice-looking, delicious-looking dessert. Okay. Should everybody else who brought something be insulted that you chose one over theirs? No, your taste was towards that. Well, same thing with God. Okay. Cain brings the best, therefore God reacts to the best and doesn't necessarily, disdain what Abel brought, but it's not, disdain what Cain brought, but it's not that, whatever, it's not that fancy. It's not that, it doesn't strike God's fancy. Just like a human being, flesh and blood, is in line at a buffet and picks one thing instead of another. It's just that their taste. That's what they want at the moment. So Cain just brings what's randomly at hand. Abel explicitly brings the firstlings, which is considered to be the best. And whether he brings the fat of it or if he brings the dairy of it, either way, it's the firstling of the flock. And that's why God would choose one over the other. But it has nothing whatsoever to do with a sin sacrifice. What's the sin? So I hope that answers this question.
All right. Sounds good. Guys, feel free to call in, even if you just want to say hi. Do indeed.
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me? You can hear me?
I can.
Who are you talking to me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
Hey, how you doing, kid? You talking to me, huh? Yep, there you go. Now I'm just inviting callers. So, looking at the questions. Guys, if you have a question, tag me at Tanakh Talk on the chat. That way I can find it right away. So, just for us to
Wait.
not have any...
Walter Folger writes, but Cain only provided what Hashem deemed a tiller of soil. But that's not the issue. The issue is Cain, there's no indication that he chose the best as a tiller of the soil. Okay, it's very clear that Abel brought the best. It explicitly says he brought the firstlings of the flock. Cain may be a tiller of soil, so he brings what's grew out of the soil, but it still doesn't say he brought the best out of the soil. The best out of what grew out of the soil.
Right.
So, it's all to do with the punishment to transgression. Cain's offering was from punishment. Abel's was not. Tell me what Cain did. Why was Cain being punished? Where's the sin for which either of them is offering some sort of something to alleviate a punishment for some transgression? What's the transgression?
Mm-hmm. Right.
At this point, they haven't done anything.
That's a good point. It says it isn't showing that there was no devil involved.
No, but Walter, you can't say it didn't say he didn't either. The text gives us a reason why God chose one over the other. But because it doesn't say he didn't, you can't show me why he didn't choose. I can show you why he didn't choose Cain's. He didn't choose Cain's because Cain brought was random, was at hand. whereas it explicitly says that Abel brought the firstlings, which is considered to be better. Yes, T. Bishop, you are correct. According to the Bible, Noah was the first to consume meat, and God even warns Noah, hey, okay, all this good stuff is going to end because from now on, animals are going to be afraid of you. Why do they become afraid? Because now he's eating meat. He's eating them. Adam was a tiller of soil. It was Adam's transgression. So if Adam has a transgression, why is it that Cain or Abel is bringing an offering, except in the Christian mind, where some people can offer sacrifices for other people's sins? Although I guess you could say Noah did, but then again, they're not Jews. What do you call someone who follows in the transgression of their father? Cain. What transgression, by the way? I don't know what transgression you're talking about.
Where are you reading from?
Walter Folger, again, 734. And by the way, what I call a person who follows in the transgression of their father, I call them themselves transgressors. But the fact that they are punished isn't for their father's transgression, it's for their own transgression.
Yeah.
As it explicitly tells us in the Bible. All right.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so isn't showing that there was no devil involved in the Garden of Eden all you need to show Christianity is wrong? In other words, you need to have a devil to be able to have an idea for Christianity, really. So the question would be, does Christianity need a devil?
Well,
to function, to be able to exist?
I don't think it needs a devil to exist, but it sure makes it easy in a number of ways. They have to ignore Isaiah 45, 5 through 7, where God explicitly says that it's God who creates evil. Okay. They have to come up with a reason to excuse God for the evil that does exist in the world. So instead of saying God did it, like Isaiah 45 states, they can now blame it on a devil. The devil made me do it.
Right, right.
Okay. So, but I don't think they need a devil as a, what's the word? God of this world. 2 Corinthians 4:4. But it sure makes it easier for their theology to operate. I mean, if you've got a king of heaven and earth, then you need a king, so to speak, of the underworld, I guess.
Okay, Raymond Reef cleared up. Hey, Raymond, how are you, brother? Cleared up something. The question is regarding Cain and Abel. How did Abel know to bring the choicest of the flock? How did he know to bring the best?
Out of the generosity of his own spirit.
My thought would have been the fact that it was a revelation of his true heart. You know.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, it was just a natural thing to do. Whenever if you have a good soul, you tend to do something for somebody. You do it really well. So.
Wait. I'm getting mixed up. I don't see.
Christo 31677. Is Satan really in rebellion against God, or doesn't he do only what God created him for? The latter is the correct. Yes, he is definitely created. He's actually in joint agreement with our Creator. He works for Hashem.
Walter, 7:27 p.m. The various historians, when they distinguish between the Essenes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Zealots, one of the things they use to distinguish is the belief in resurrection. Okay? The Sadducees didn't believe in it. Okay, the Pharisees very definitely believed in resurrection. That's one thing. Second of all, who does Jesus argue with the most? You really think that Democrats argue more with Republicans than they argue with fellow Democrats? Do you really think that Republicans argue more with Democrats than fellow Republicans? You know, the opposing party, they're just off the wall. They're beyond hope. People argue more often within their own group than they argue with those outside their group, because those outside their group they're nuts anyway.
Right.
So I actually think there's a lot of reason to believe that Jesus was a form of a Pharisee, but this idea that you are only a zealot, only a Sadducee, only a Pharisee, only an Essene, I don't think people are like that. I think that there's overlap in all sorts of different things. You're telling me that every single Republican would never vote for a progressive concept? Every single Democrat would never vote for a less progressive issue? A Democrat never would vote for a Republican. A Republican would never vote for a Democrat. I think that there's a lot of overlap. I mean, look, when Jesus is asked, who is it of all these groups? Okay, who is it that would have a dagger, a knife, a sword? The zealots. When Jesus is asked, you know, should we give taxes? And Jesus says, show me the money. And he says, whose picture is this? You know, they say, it's Caesar. And Jesus says, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, but give to God what belongs to God. Excuse me, what exactly does God own? I thought the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and all they that dwell therein. When Jesus says, give to God what is God's, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, Caesar doesn't own anything. That's called passive aggression. When Jesus says, do not resist someone who is evil, but if someone sues you for your jacket, give him your coat. He didn't ask for the coat. It's passive aggression. When Jesus says, if someone makes you go 1 mile, go 2 miles. Well, if I need you to carry something 1 mile and you bring it 2 miles, it's not where I need it. It's passive aggressive.
Right.
It's what a zealot would do. So I don't think there's to be so deep a distinction between the four groups then. I think there'd be very much overlap. And I believe that Jesus was a Pharisee with zealot overtones. But that's just me.
Paul claimed to be a Pharisee. Let's talk about that for a minute. And a student of Gamaliel.
Yeah, because Gamaliel would certainly, somebody that high up, somebody that respected would certainly have a student on the quality of Paul. That makes a lot of sense.
All right, good question popped in by AH on YouTube at 7:41 p.m.
7
AH.
40 AH. Doesn't Isaiah 52:14 give a description of who the servant is? And his form is unlike that of the sons of men, and his form is unlike that of a man. Would that be correct? Let's take a careful look. And what did you say? You said, where'd it go? That's Isaiah. 50, and you said 50, what was it?
52:14.
52.
Yep.
14. Well, according as many were appalled at you, so marred was his visage, unlike that of a man, and his form unlike that of the sons of men. Okay. And what's his question?
Actually, I thought it was a question. It may be pointing out that it couldn't have been a man, a human form, like Christianity teaches. It may have just been confirming that.
Not quite sure how he gets that, because, I mean, it's the same verse. Who exactly was Jesus talking to? Who was he preaching? I'm sorry. Who was Isaiah preaching to? Who was he a prophet to? What group was he concerned most about? who would he be talking to? He'd be talking to the Jews. And so what does the text say? 52:14, according as many were appalled at you, the people to whom he is talking, appalled at the people, appalled at the Jews. And then he switches to the third person, so marred was his visage unlike that of a man and his form unlike that of the sons of men. Okay, that means he's talking about the Jews, and he says that from the second verse, 52:14. Most people say that the whole Isaiah 53 passage actually begins with 52:13. So he's from the very beginning of this passage, the suffering servant, he's explicitly saying that the people about whom he is speaking are the Jews.
That's what AH was referring to. It wasn't the question. It was more pointing out that Christianity is wrong and claiming that it is.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. Okay,
so marred was his visage unlike that of a man. How often in history have the Jews been portrayed as not human? How often have Jews been portrayed as animal-like? You know, the Nazis had pictures of Jews that happened to look like monkeys, and they would plaster the two pictures together up as a way to make it look like Jews weren't real human beings. So marred was his visage unlike that of a man, and his form unlike that of the descendants of human beings. So, you know, every time I've ever seen a picture of Jesus, he's a carpenter, he's strong, he's handsome. You know, they never portray him as having a visage that is marred. You know, unless they're trying to say that this one verse only refers to after he was scourged, which makes no sense in context. So
okay, so Constellation Pegasus right now just popped up on a little $5 donation. It says Mark 16:9-20 and the adulterous woman's story are highly suspicious of being forgeries.
Yep.
Why would anyone believe in what Jesus says elsewhere if that too is a forgery?
Mark
16 verse 9.
Mark 16. Appearing to Mary Magdalene. Right. By the way, this is the last chapter of the book of Mark.
Which was added.
Okay. And everything after verse 8, verse 9 and following are not found in the earliest manuscripts of the Christian's New Testament book of Mark. So all this is added by other authors. Okay, and you said beginning with what?
Verse 9.
Yeah. So, and when Jesus was risen early in the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils. Where is that story to be found? And she went and told them that had been with, and she went and told them that had been with him as they mourned and wept. And they, when they had heard that he was alive and had been seen of her, believed not. By the way, every single version of this part of the story doesn't agree with every other gospel writer. Who here it's Mary Magdalene alone. Sometimes it's Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. Sometimes it's Mary. It varies from gospel to gospel. So they can't even agree on this. Okay, that's one thing. Right. So I'm not quite sure what to do with the rest of it. What's he asking again?
I think, okay, was the story of Mary at the well, was that considered a forgery?
Well, it's part of this non-original to the oldest manuscripts.
Oh, okay, I see.
If it's not part of, if it's verse 9 or after, because the original manuscripts end with verse 8. If it's verse 9 or past that, then yeah, it's considered added much later. Because Mark says nothing about a resurrection, and you got to have a resurrection to have, I guess, some sort of validation for the belief in Jesus. By the way, everybody who talks about these four groups, when it talks about the Essenes, they didn't get married. They were celibate. That's a violation of the first commandment, be fruitful and multiply. Why would they die out? Because God rejected their belief system. Okay, the only one that survived were the Pharisees that became the rabbis. The Sadducees were backers of the temple and under the direct, whatever it is, of Rome. When the temple was destroyed, they lost their seat of power. They became irrelevant. If you gave enough money, you could be the high priest, even if you weren't a Kohen. Okay, the Zealots were for open rebellion against Rome. They got squashed like bugs, culminating in 135, I believe, with the Bar Kokhba rebellion. Who am I missing? Pharisees, Sadducees, Zealots, and Essenes. Essenes died out because they couldn't make converts. They didn't be fruitful. They wouldn't propagate. And they couldn't make converts. Therefore, they died out. The only one to survive at God's discretion were the Pharisees, who became the rabbis, hence Rabbinic Judaism. Right.
All right. So, I saw a comment. I don't know who said it earlier. I already lost it. But the fact that, well, not a fact, but the point they didn't think that Jesus was an Essene or whatever, because he taught, says the Pharisees sit in the seat of Moses. I think it was Matthew 23 or Matthew 7.
Right.
So why would an Essene teach to obey the laws of Moses, basically?
Right. Why would they say that Moses sits in
yeah.
That the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat? Moses' seat is the sign of authority. He is saying that the Pharisees have the authority.
Right. And it's the authority of Moses. That's where they have their authority
going
from.
back to the
right.
Yeah, exactly.
So right. Now, on the flip side of that, there's plenty of evidence, in my humble opinion, that Jesus was not just this totally peaceful guy. There's the aside of the obvious ones in the New Testament text, there's just the story. It was a book called, I think we mentioned it once. It wasn't the Gospel according to Judas, but it had something to do with Judas. And it was an account that Judas had of Jesus, and within these books, and there may have been more than just one book that described him in the lost years of his childhood, because we don't know anything about him. And after he got lost, or whatever the case may be, whenever he got separated from his parents, there's no story about him at all from at that point until he was an adult. And so this storybook line pretty much tells the characteristics of Jesus, and he seemed to be, according to them, was very aggressive and hot-headed, and so adding that to what we do know of the New Testament Acts, cursing the fig tree when it wasn't even the season for the figs to be on it.
Stealing pigs to put, if he's supposed to be God, he should just kill the demons instead of putting them into pigs and killing the pigs.
Yeah, destroying the tables at the temple. I mean, he was
making a scourge to beat people with in the temple. It's not that he just overthrew tables.
Right.
I think it's John's Gospel says he made his own scourge with which to beat people.
Yeah.
And he did.
Right.
And why are they there in the first place? Deuteronomy 14. But I don't want to go into that now.
Right. Gotcha. So there's I'm kind of curious about, I've not seen the story in the Talmud about Jesus, but apparently it may have something to do with this character I just described. I'm kind of curious now. It'd be nice to find out.
What is it? I'm not quite sure. Oh, wow. Good answer.
What's that?
Nothing. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It was pure sarcasm anyway.
Right on.
Yeah, Janice goes on along with the brainwashing.
Yep, right on.
a man of peace.
All right, we have a caller, I think. Oh, actually, I think I know this. I think this is going to be Trey Bishop. He's going to talk about that story in the Talmud. Rabbi, is that cool?
What story? Go. I don't know what you're referring to, but go ahead.
I didn't either. I said I would like to hear a little bit about that story in the Talmud about Jesus because I haven't read it, and I think it was from our gentleman Trey Bishop, who we have on the line now. Trey, welcome back, brother.
It is Trey Bishop again. Thanks. So years back, I read this story because it was offered as kind of Christians were saying, oh, Jews are saying bad things about Jesus. And so they pointed out this story in the Talmud, and I went and read it. Basically, he goes into a tavern with his rabbi and some of the other students, and they sit down at a table, and the waitress comes by, and the rabbi says something about it being a nice tavern. And apparently in Aramaic, the word for tavern and bartender or the waitress or whatever is the same word. And so Jesus makes a pun, kind of a joke about, says something about her eyes are too narrow or something like that. And all the other guys laugh, but the rabbi is, he's upset by Jesus kind of making a crude sexual joke. But for me, when I read it, I was like, that's a real guy. That's a human. It's not the guy that the Christians have been, So anyway, if the rabbi knows that story, or if he can enlighten on maybe how that's.
I vaguely remember somebody mentioning that several years back. I never actually read the story, though. But I do know that the question has come up a lot. Is the Jesus in the Talmud the Jesus of the New Testament? And interestingly enough, the name Jesus or Joshua, Yehoshua, whatever it is, it was such a common name like Mary is in the Spanish world. 1 out of every 50 girls are named Mary, basically. You know what I mean? So
sure.
It's really
but if
hard.
They could have included that in the Gospels, I would have kind of thought he was a cooler guy, honestly.
Right.
Myself.
Yeah, right. That's true. Cool. Hey, thanks for the call back. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a good one.
I must tell you that, look, if we're talking Mishnah, which goes up to 200 CE, okay, it is extremely unlikely that any reference would have anything to do with Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus of the New Testament, Jesus of Christianity.
I thought that whole span was from 250 CE to right around 200 BCE, like it covered that whole span.
But that's what I'm saying. That whole span, Christianity was irrelevant to the Jewish community. There was no reason to bring up anything about Jesus. Christianity only became powerful 324, 325 Council of Nicaea, when basically Rome became Christian.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
So why write a story about some insignificant little thing? Okay, from the Jewish perspective, what was Christianity from the year 0 till Rome became Christian?
Mm-hmm.
When Rome became Christian, they became a problem. So if these accounts of the supposed Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus of the New Testament, whatever, okay, are post 325, which would mean the latter 175 years. Mm-hmm. It depends on who you want to accept as dating the Gemara. Okay,
sure.
Maybe it could be talking about the Jesus of Christianity. Maybe. Okay, and I have no way to look up who's speaking, when they lived, whatever.
Right.
Just frankly, it doesn't interest me that much. But I just get really hard pressed to believe that the Jesuses described or discussed or whatever in the Talmud really have anything whatsoever to do with the Jesus of Christianity. And people will date the Jesuses they're talking about.
Right. And
it's either 100 years before Jesus or 100 years after Jesus. It doesn't necessarily match up.
Something, I saw a movie.
But that's just my opinion. I
saw a movie a while back called Ben-Hur. It was kind of made in the feel of like the Ten Commandments, but it wasn't like using the Nile River and all this other stuff. But it did cover the time, supposedly the time of when Jesus was there. And the whole entire movie was really the movie about the movie. And then there was a glimpse in the scene where Jesus was carrying his cross down the alleyway or whatever. And then it went right back to the movie. It's like just like they saw. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Somebody's getting mugged. And then it went right back to the story, like it really was no big deal. But in the idea of the New Testament makes you feel like that when Jesus was alive, it's like that was all over the news. That was like the thing. That was the encapsulating thing. Now, granted, it's a movie, but the point is, it's like the number of followers that they say that it created during that time. It's really painted like it is today. You got all these mega churches, and people assume that since Joe Osteen has this, 100,000 member football field stadium full of Christians, that was the thing with Jesus too. Even more so with Jesus, so to speak. So, but it was just kind of distorted thoughts. I will say that we had a caller, but actually now we have a question. All right, Rabbi, at 7:57 p.m., this is probably our last one. How long is this Pavan? Again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, Pavan. How long are Jews willing to wait for Messiah? And is there any timeline for the real Messiah? In other words, how long for the world to be redeemed? Now, before we answer that, because we always prefer callers, I'm going to take this caller. Caller, you're live on the air. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Oh, hi, I'm Nicholas, and I'm calling from Florida.
What is your name? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Nicholas.
Nicholas, welcome.
Hi, can I ask about anything?
Sure.
All right, so this is a question that I've been having, for years, and I haven't seen anything that, that can answer my question. So, because, can I put some background so you can understand better?
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
I can't understand you at all.
I'll repeat it for you.
Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead, Nicholas.
All right. So it's about music, because my question is, I haven't found in the Bible anything about the music, because, how you say?
I heard. Listen, real fast. I heard every single word clearly, except for the thing you're talking about. Repeat the thing you're talking about that you haven't heard of.
Oh yes, I'm a little bit nervous. Maybe that's why. But it's about the music, because like if any music.
Oh, music.
I mean, yes, music.
Okay.
Because I can hear you, but I don't know if you're hearing me well. That's why.
Okay, you said you can't hear me. Hang on, let me see if I can fix that. 1 second here. Okay, see if you can hear me any better now.
Yes, yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, very good.
Good. So it's about, how the music can influence. I mean, that's what they say, they can influence people.
Mm-hmm.
Because
right.
I was raised a Seventh-day Adventist. So, they basically drilled into my mind, that, certain type of music is evil and all of that. So, like, when I try to listen, to music, it's like, if something inside me feel like a little bit, out of balance. So my question will be like, if there, how you say?
I think I know where you're going with this. So, Rabbi, I'm gonna kind of rephrase it in my own words. The question is,
I appreciate it.
You bet. If you want to go and hang up now, we can tune in for your answer. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Basically, he was asking. Let me give you a full package before you answer. So,
Okay.
is music influential? Is because Christians teach you should only listen to Christian music because the devil, the angel of music, he's like got all this power and evil and wickedness, and your good Christian child should not listen to secular music. I don't like the idea that it sounds like, but I will tell you that everything is influential. Movies, music. I'll give you a perfect example. I still remember the first time I ever went to go see a karate movie at a movie theater. I was like 10 years old, and I came out jumping and kicking like Bruce Lee. It motivates you, your topical things that you're into. Right now I can be driving down the road, and I can hear the theme song to Top Gun, and my foot gets a little heavier. You know what I'm saying? So, And movies, yeah. So the answer is yes. Every single thing in this world is influential. So I would say if you're having struggles with sin sin, or if you're having struggles with attitudes or something, I would do a good investigation on what your spiritual diet is. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to listen to nothing but Torah 24/7, but you know, you really should build your life around that thing which you intend on imitating. That's the idea. Now back to that. Hope that Rabbi, would you agree? Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Nope, not really.
Okay, let's go back because this will be the last one. We'll go back to Pavan's question because it's really a good one, because Christians believe that that the Jews have no Messiah. So how are they saved? So I'm going to reread the question again. How long are Jews willing to wait for a Messiah? And is there any timeline for the real Messiah? In other words, how long for the world to be redeemed?
There is so much in that question that makes Christian assumptions that Judaism does not make. Okay, so bear with me.
Okay.
All right?
Take as much time as you need.
All right. Okay, first of all, the Messiah is clearly a part of Judaism, but it's not the be-all, end-all of Judaism. Pick up the Bible and read it, and as you've heard me say, I believe this is also true of the New Testament as well. Maybe not as much, but to an extent. The Bible itself is not about how to get to the afterlife, or about the end of days, or about the coming of the Messiah, or the vast majority of the Bible is about how to live in this life and how to make a connection, a communing with God, and connection and communing with human beings and everything else in God's creation in the here and now. So the whole thing about how long can we wait for the Messiah to come? Forever. It's up to God. You know how many different generations have been born, lived, and died, okay, on earth?
And keep in mind, what did Jesus tell his disciples? He said, many of you are standing with me here today shall not taste death until you see the fullness have come in his glory. I mean, so they were expecting his death and
immediately.
And third coming, as we say, because he already came back once, right? He already came back and revealed himself to them. So that would have been the second coming, which he did no miracles there and no fulfilled prophecies there either. But they all died off, and here we are 2,000 plus years later, and they're still. So I mean, how long, like you said, how long are the Jews and people are willing to wait? Wait as long as it takes. It doesn't matter when no one's in a rush.
Because our religion isn't about the end of days.
Right. It's about the here and now.
It's about the here and now. Do we expect the Messiah? Absolutely. You know, are there things that are supposed to happen when the real Messiah comes? Absolutely. Okay. Is there a deadline, a timeline, or whatever? There's a billion different opinions. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but you get my point.
Yeah, right.
Pick one you like.
Yes.
Okay, but Judaism, the thrust of Judaism is about how to live in the here and now and how to have a relationship with God, and through that relationship with God, how you treat people and all of God's creatures.
Yep.
So the other thing is and I don't want to go into detail because I think everybody knows it by now, but our understanding of what the Messiah is, who he's going to be, and what he does when he actually comes is not really reflected in the question as it was asked. You know, it's supposed, and the idea of, and I'm not sure, William, frankly, if this was your wording for him or his wording for himself. Okay, but I forgot how it was ended. Like the world redeemed, or the world.
How long? Listen, let me go back to. I found it right. Where'd he go? Yeah, I don't know what. I can't remember. But at the end of the
but the point is that the world doesn't need to be redeemed.
Right.
There's some rabbinic interpretations of the days of the Messiah when basically nothing changes.
Right.
And it's only at the very, 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 very end of the reign of the Messiah when you have the complete overthrow of nature, so to speak. But until then, exactly as we live life now, we'll live life then.
And furthermore, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, this is good. So more points that are being brought out, of course, and thank you, Andrea, for bringing this up, and we've talked about it all the time, is that, the points of the Messiah is, number one, he's not going to save the world. Number two, you don't have to bow not every knee has to bow to everybody's going to know who it is. So it's like Rabbi Singer once used the idea of the president. It's like when a president gets elected, everybody knows. And it's like, do I, for example, do I like my current president? Do I like my past president? The Messiah concept is not it's not going to be something that we're going to be trembling in fear of God because the Messiah is here. Now you've got to answer to the Messiah. No, it's not. That's not what it's about. So what the Christianity's idea of Messiah does not equal the Jewish idea.
We use the same word, but they have totally different meanings. And I could be wrong, but I felt that the original question, what I could hear of it, really assumed a Christian understanding of the definition of the word Messiah and all the things the Messiah is supposed to do when he comes. Okay. God made the world and said that it was good. That goodness didn't change. Okay. God still speaks to Adam and Eve after they get kicked out of the Garden of Eden, if I remember correctly. I'll have to check that. God still maintained a relationship with Adam and Eve even after they were separated from the tree of life by being kicked out of the Garden of Eden. I think it reflects this idea that maybe I'm just hypersensitive to, and that is, the world's a broken place. I'm a broken person. Broken. Okay, and that part I object very much to.
Right.
Okay.
A great song encapsulates that. It's the end of the world as we know it, but I feel fine.
And there are many traditions about the end of days, about when the Messiah comes, okay? But we're still 218, I can't do math, I can't do math, years, that's 10 more generations. And anybody born today won't be alive in 200 and whatever I just said years.
Right.
So people can conjecture, they can say we're in the days, the what's the word they always give? The aches of the
birth pains or whatever.
Thank you. Yeah. Birth pains of the Messiah. Okay. And that's all well and good. But every time in Jewish history, I would also argue in other histories too, but every time in Jewish history where the people started saying, the Messiah's come, here we go, and then the Messiah doesn't come,
right?
It disappoints people in all religion. It disappoints people in Judaism. It separates people from God because they invest their being into the idea this is it, and then it isn't it. And it creates more problems than it's worth. Mm-hmm. And I just personally have a much more, I don't know what to call it, approach to the idea of when the Messiah is supposed to come. It's nice. We believe in it. The Messiah is clearly coming. There are certain things that will happen when he does come. But the conjecture about when, and by the way, do you realize what an ego trip it is to say the Messiah is going to come in my lifetime?
Right.
Whoa. Excuse me. I didn't know I was that important that the Messiah is going to come while I'm here. You know how many people have said that? Every turn of the century, every time the year ends in 00, you have groups saying this is it. Okay?
Yep.
And what happens within a very few years of that 00? Okay? Few in terms of, the long range. So 1,000 came and went, and Jesus didn't come back. And what happened in 1066 to the Jews? Okay, the Crusades. Okay, didn't come back in 1100, 1200, 1300. Okay, sorry, 1400, no Jesus returned. And then you had the Inquisition beginning in 1492. Okay, 1600s, you had the, I forgot, 16, I don't remember anymore. You had the Khmelnytsky massacres. I just think there's more to Judaism than the Messiah is coming. This is it. We're in the end of days. And I just think the sentiment can possibly be dangerous. Okay. Agree with me, don't agree with me,
sure.
Whatever. Okay. And there are traditions that will say that it's imminent. But I remember the conversation. I don't remember where I read it. I don't remember if it's Talmudic or post-Talmudic. Rabbis are arguing about, this is it. Here, we're in the end of days. And one rabbi turns to the others and says, grass will be growing through your jaws long before the Messiah comes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was right.
Right.
So, but that's just me.
I hear you. Well, cool deal. Well, Rabbi, let's go ahead and wrap this baby up. We'll get you some much-needed rest as well. And really appreciate you guys all tuning in. Please, if you guys don't mind, let's hit that like button if you're enjoying these shows. It helps the search algorithms show it more often when people look for things like this. So meanwhile, you guys have a great week. And Hashem willing, we'll see you all same time, same place next week. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Rabbi.
It always is.